Welcome to you, my name's Dale, and this is DaylesAddiction. I'm coming to you from the office today because we're talking about a serious subject. The subject that was raised in a recent Instagram poll that I did by Pursetopia. Candace, hi, I can always rely on you for juicy topics to discuss. Why don't you talk about hiding luxury purchases from partners? I thought, wow, that's a controversial issue, right? Because I think if we're honest, we've probably all done it at some stage in our lives, whether or not that's something we regularly do or something we're just doing now or something that we did a little while ago. So I thought, why not get some insight from yourselves through some Instagram polls that I ran on this topic. And I was kind of surprised, and maybe I'm a little bit cynical about the results that I received, and here's why. I put out a question on Instagram asking who has hidden their luxury purchases from their partners. 58% of people said, yes, I have. And I think if I have a look at the poll results, just a moment. So 58% of people said, yes, they had hidden purchase, and 42% said no. There were 137 votes of yes and 98 votes of no. Now, when I followed that one up with, if you said yes, you know, what were some of the reasons, or how do you justify hiding things? This is where all the juice came from. And I thought, rather than spilling your responses first, I would share my own, because that's what you do, right? That's how you make it fair. Have I hidden things? I have delayed sharing things. So yeah, I guess you could say that I have in the past for various reasons. And I was thinking about, why I might do it. And I did this before I even got the results of the poll, because I wanted to be really transparent and say, this is not about me sharing your, spilling your tea. It's a conversation that we're having, right? So to be totally transparent, I guess for me, it's this concept around shared finances and shared goals. But possibly more than that, it's the fact that the impact of my decision on our goals, and maybe if I take that even a step further, it's because I've probably questioned, challenged, or God forbid, criticized spending that my partner has done. And then I'm worried about what that says about me in terms of being a hypocrite. So I've just come out with it straight up in the first 4 minutes. There we go, look at me. Now, something I want to give you context around on this before I start to get to some of the responses that you shared was, and then you think about cash flow, I put, and I'm like, sometimes I love seasonal things, right? And so I'm going to purchase that thing now while I have the opportunity to, and then I'll figure out how to fund it, whether or not I need to sell something, or whether or not I, have the conversation then and say, listen, this is something, I'll bring forward my Christmas present or my birthday present, whatever creative way I can come up with justifying what I've done. So timing is definitely something that would encourage me to be a little more strategic about sharing a spend. I don't know about you guys, but this made me laugh, and I'm thinking, what are the things that I have hidden or hide, and why? And the other big one that comes to mind, because the luxury part, to be honest, I don't do it that often. It's just a slow reveal, right? But it's the junk food thing, and it's the same reason. It's I've probably declared publicly that I want to lose weight, or I'm trying to be good this week, or stop bringing junk food into the house because it's tempting for me and I've got no willpower. And then I have a absolute craving for salty chips or something, and I'll put it in the wheelie bin. Like, I will hide the evidence. I will use another bin to deposit the wrappers so that, for all people know, I've been eating salad all week, right? Does anyone else do that? Please put me out of my misery and let me know. So, they were my initial thoughts that I came up with as to when I do and why, how I justify it. But I guess that's just a part of the question. There's a lot of us in a lot of different partnerships, arrangements, understandings with our significant others. Some people don't share finances, some people only share household. So depending on your arrangement and where you're at in your life and what your goals are and what hardship or potential, pots of gold you've come across will really depend on how you respond to this question. So I want to share some of the responses. I'm not going to name people because I think it's pretty courageous of people to respond to some random Instagram poll with, and with their honest perspectives. But I thought I'd read them out and just respond to them in terms of, what my reaction is to these things. Quite interestingly, a couple of people said it's none of his business, it's my money. But he thought my money was for him and then no idea why, considering it's my money. So these are both in the same set of screenshots here. And I thought, isn't that interesting how we can still hide things even though it's our money because we're worried about what people think of us spending our money in this way. And then it comes back to that whole judgment around buying luxury thing. And I guess one of the things that I wanted to say about that, it came up in Connor and I's recent collaboration, but we cut it out because we had so much content, it wasn't funny, but not enough to kind of make enough videos. I actually said one of the things that's really helped me deal with my own projection of judgment, as in me thinking other people are judging me about luxury, has actually been to talk about it more, to talk about it on YouTube, to talk about it on Instagram, and then people find out that I'm on YouTube and Instagram and why. And I'm constantly having that conversation. I'm not hiding it. I'm not bringing it up because I'm worried people aren't interested. It's not something that I just have to keep for myself and a few little closet friends that I have on Facebook Messenger, which is how I started talking about luxury, right? Whereas now I talk about it all the time. It's much easier for me to respond in a really constructive way and say, oh, look, it's just something that I've always loved, and the longer that I'm interested in it and the more people I talk to, the more I learn about it, the more I, refine my style and what I'm interested in. Obviously, the higher the tolerance for spending, and people kind of nod and, from my perspective, they don't seem to be judging me. They are genuinely interested in what are you on, woman? Like, how do you justify spending $8,500 on a wicker bag? I just talk through it. I love it. It's interesting to me. It's beautiful. These are the things I love about it. This is how it makes me feel when I wear it. These are the things I look for when I buy. So all of those things, I guess talking about it more makes it less taboo and less uncomfortable because you've got a language to put around it, like anybody who's interested in anything. There's a couple of comments here, like the nagging in my ears can be unbearable. Yeah, just as, being irresponsible. I buy often and they really aren't necessities. So this same thing around frugalness came up quite a bit in terms of either a frugal partner or frugal background, as in growing up with parents who were quite frugal. I certainly was too. And I have to say, even in declaring the income that This is terrible. I once received a pay rise that was equivalent to the salary that one of my parents was earning at the time. And that was a promotion, a new job. And that puts things into perspective around your life and your appetite for adventure and your view of the world. Is it a place to explore and discover, or is it something to protect yourself from and survive? And I think that you can't hold that against somebody because their experience in this world is different. And I know that certainly for my parents, it's something that they're proud of rather than, I'm sure they're not proud of me buying a bunch of handbags, but I believe they're proud of the life I've been able to build for myself because of the sacrifices and the choices that they've made. There's another one here, my money, my luxury, and the same applies the other way around. Yep. I was embarrassed that I treated myself. This one really stood out for me, like feeling really self-indulgent and self-indulgent. And the discomfort that comes from that. Yet if we were talking to a friend and a friend had this same dilemma, which is what I feel like I'm doing now, and said, I've lusted after this thing for so long, and I feel like I've gone through all these life stages and achievements, and I've never really celebrated them, and I can now. I'm in control of my mortgage, or I've got the money there, but I'm more worried about the person who loves me the most criticizing me about it. Wouldn't you want that for them? It's just a funny thing that we do to ourselves. Absolutely. Like it's almost on martyrdom, isn't it? Like to put yourself last so much that you never celebrate your achievements or you never indulge in the things that you really love. He won't see the worth behind it purely because he's male. Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, whether it's a male-female thing or just not being remotely interested in the same things that you are, what is worth, what holds value for you might be absolutely different to somebody else. And I know that I struggle to see value in certain things that my husband adores and will spend a lot of money on. And I'm sure likewise he feels the same way about the things that I spend money on. I want to avoid comments which would talk away the pleasure of having bought the piece. Oh my goodness, yes. So many people have shared with me since I've been on YouTube the fact that they've been so excited to finally find the item or take the plunge, and then find themselves having to justify and feel like they've been treated almost like a child. Why did you do that? Like, that's just absurd. How could you justify spending that money? What about travel? What about this? What about that? And then all the joy associated with that is gone. And it becomes something that you look at and feel bad about. And then you don't use it because you know it's going to bring up that conversation again. So that's a bit sad too. I didn't want the questions such as how much was it? Do you really need that? Yeah. Do you really need that? Most people don't understand why you would want to spend so much money on just a bag. He thinks I'm a bit wasteful. I'm a crazy handbag lover and didn't feel like explaining why I needed a new one. Guilt, embarrassment, because he would complain I'm always buying bags. So this set of screenshots were all very similar in their theme as well. And I think to kind of break that up around how do you justify spending what you spend on just a bag, a thing that carries things around? Well, I guess, from my perspective, and I've made a couple of videos on this, but I don't think that you do justify it. You acknowledge it is a lot of money. And it's something that I considered for quite a period of time around what drew me to this particular bag? Why do I want to sacrifice what I would otherwise spend that money on to purchase this bag? And that's the conversation that you have, rather than, it's a limited piece and I might never get it, and then there'll be a price rise in 6 months, so I'm better to get it now. Like, they're all taking it from, that lower position. Michelle Obama, what did she say? When they go low, we go high. Kind of thing. If I've got that wrong, let me know. But I think in saying this to you in a camera in office, what I'm saying is, this is something that I have been looking for. This is something that reminds me of, a time in my life, or this is something I want to look at and celebrate what I've achieved, or, I see myself really enjoying this when we go on holidays or when we go for dinners, or whatever your reasons are. The guilt and embarrassment piece, I think, is linked again to the judgment around, and I think Autumn Beckman has talked about this really well in terms of saying it's not always right for people to have their household in order when they buy luxury. So to expand on that, don't be lecturing people and say, well, as long as you've got your mortgage in hand and your retirement savings organised and you're paying your bills, like, do not buy luxury until all those things are taken care of and, your kids are at school and whatever else. It's not for anyone to tell you when you should or shouldn't buy it. But I think the embarrassment and the guilt part comes when people make you feel like you haven't got other parts of your life together, yet you're indulging in something that's fickle or frivolous or doesn't mean anything. And again, the fact that something that makes you so happy on the one hand but makes you feel so bad on the other hand, like, that's not okay. So putting some language around what that actually means to you, and helping the other person understand that for you, I think is really important. Yeah, a few others that sound very similar. He would be annoyed as I purchased too much unnecessary goods in his eyes, didn't like me buying pieces and hated that I was prepared to spend that amount of money, didn't want him to know what ridiculous price I paid. I felt uncomfortable telling them the exact price. So again, it's funny how all these screenshots come through totally anonymously from other people that contributed, yet there's a theme or pattern there. And I guess, again, that's around you thinking what somebody else might be prepared to pay for these things, or if they are not someone who indulges in these things, the fact that they would never consider paying that kind of money. And then what might they think of you if you do? And yeah, I kind of go back to that same statement I made earlier around one of the promotions or pay rises that I received. And I think you can be humble, but you can also not put yourself down as well by assuming that your position in life has a negative impact on others. And I think that's a really interesting conversation, which takes us into a whole murky ground around who the breadwinner is in your relationship, particularly if you share finances. And I know that there's a couple of, conversations going around the luxury community around if your partner purchases luxury for you, what does that say about you? Versus if you purchase all your own luxury and with your own money, what does that say about you? And then if your parents are wealthy and they buy luxury for you, what does that say about you? I mean, I think we're guilty of judging each other just as much as we think that people outside of this community judge us. So it's probably an interesting one to have a think about personally. Do you have hang-ups around some of these things because of your own journey? And how does that help you to then understand the people in your life that might share the same judgment? Like, how can you enter into a conversation with them about it, knowing that you've probably judged people as well. So these next set of comments, I was spending so much already, shouldn't be buying anymore. I said I was going to get a bag for my birthday, but I ended up getting 2, so I had to hide one. Sometimes that happens, right? I was meant to wait until I had more savings before spending some money on a bag. I did not want to be interrogated. I'm not wanting to let them think I was reckless with my money or that our values don't align. Yeah, absolutely, because you think, oh, what might they hide from me if they think that I'm not responsible or I don't share the same values? He doesn't really get mad, but I can't stand the silent, judgmental look he gives me. Yep. My husband's very practical and frugal and doesn't care about luxury, so I can't show him my purchases all in one go. Just drip feed that luxury. We question each other. As long as we can meet our financial goals, we're good. And I feel like that's how our relationship works, but I know not all do, and I'm not trying to throw my relationship or anyone else's either up on a pedestal or under the bus. We're all different things work for us at different stages in our life. He doesn't agree with what they cost, but he admitted he notices and just lets me be. I sometimes feel bad indulging when his personal spending is less than mine. Yeah, this one comes up again with the whole breadwinner kind of thing, or the fact that I talk to a lot of you guys on Instagram and you share the fact that, I feel bad because my partner doesn't have an indulgence. There's nothing that they spend money on there. They have a fairly minimal lifestyle. And yet here I am, spending $5,000 every couple of months on a handbag. So be it, I felt guilty as I knew the dollars could have been better spent. I felt irresponsible for an unplanned purchase. Better spent, when? When, and what's the opportunity cost? They just do not understand my love. Yes. Make me feel guilty for spending so much on a luxury item. It's if it becomes a dirty little secret, you start behaving secretly, don't you? Some interesting ones here. Pretty subtle. We both spend money on different things. It's not about hiding it, and I don't have so many branded items. He thinks it's ridiculous to spend thousands on a bag, and very deep down, I agree. Yes, that internal tension that we have about what we're doing and how we make those decisions. I love how many people are saying need in here. He doesn't get why I need more bags and shoes. I bought a few things at once and I didn't want to freak him out. So, back to the drip feeding. I have too many bags that I don't use already. Yep. I can absolutely relate. This one is hidden the same as lied about the cost, because if so, all the time. See, I would say that, but then my husband actually purchased a petite boîte chapeau for me, which, if you've been on this channel, you've heard the story a bazillion times, but like of all the bags that he could have bought, that's an expensive bag. So I feel like he's pretty good with knowing the value of things. So I wouldn't be able to fib about the value. You spent that much on that? I can get the same thing made in Turkey for a quarter of the price. So yeah, not equating the value with the product. Absolutely. The judgment, the fear of being called ridiculous, even though it's my money and I spend how I like. I didn't feel like having the debate, expensive bag versus luxury car and being practical. Yeah, like what are you spending your money on? A lot of men or people in general don't understand why. My husband is a Scrooge. Yeah. Sometimes I count myself lucky that those words that stick in my mind about my husband is you're better looking at it than looking for it. The challenge is if we're both in that mindset, then what could go wrong? Where we don't have one to balance out the other. We're both yang. none of us are yin. So we need to counter that. But yeah, that tension in a relationship is good in many ways, because it helps to really consider a purchase. But then again, if it's so much so that it becomes a power dynamic rather than just a healthy tension, that's when things can get interesting, right? A lot of people saying, I don't want the judgment, I don't want to be questioned. And maybe that's because we don't have good enough responses prepared, because we feel like we're going to be questioned, but we haven't thought about what we'd say, back to that point around, this is something that just makes me happy every time I look at it. I've wanted it for a long time, whatever the case is. I could write you a whole script on hiding purchases. Because I knew I'd not long bought something and he still doesn't get it. I've hidden a purchase from my mum only because she judges me for it. While he understands my love of luxury, he probably thinks one bag a year is enough. Ha! So look, they are some of the responses, and I'm sure as I'm reading them out, you're nodding your head and going, yep. And isn't it interesting that there's thousands and thousands of us that have found each other on Instagram and YouTube, and it feels like a safe place, yet in our own homes sometimes it doesn't. And I guess, I'm kind of merging my love of luxury with the work that I do, and I'd encourage you to think about, for all those things you're worried people might say to you, prepare a response instead of off the cuff reacting emotionally or shutting down and feeling guilt and shame. Have your response ready to go and practice it, because honestly, that's what's helped me talking about it here. This is an interest, a passion of mine. It makes me happy. I love spotting handbags in public. I love connecting with people about our shared love and fascination for these crazy expensive sacks that hold our items. It's something that, continues to inspire me. I love fashion. I feel like how I dress is what I'm putting out in the world for the day, and handbags are a part of that. And whilst it may seem incredibly indulgent to spend that kind of money on it, it's something that I really, really enjoy. Thanks for noticing my beautiful handbag. I've got many more that I can share with you. Look, that's a great topic. Thanks, Candice, for putting that one out there. I've got a few more to explore with you. If you like this video format, let me know. These chatty kind of critical analysis of all things that kind of float in and out of our worlds pertaining to this. It's an addiction for me. I don't know what it is for you. Obsession, enamorment, whatever you want to call it. But I'm so glad that we are all here sharing it with each other, because certainly if we weren't, there'd be a lot more hiding going on. You know what I'd love to do? Tell me in the comments where you hide your luxury. Where do you hide it? Are you a car boot kind of person? Are you in the spare room version? Do you hide it in the back of your wardrobe or closet version? Do you put it somewhere where the husband will never look, like in the cleaning products drawer? Like, where do you hide your luxury? Tell me that. That's what I want to know, because I think that would be hilarious to know where we are stashing all this stuff. So look, I put out videos on Wednesdays and Sundays. If you've enjoyed this one, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I'll see you in my next one. Ciao.